Welcome to Agentic Workflows the Money series, Episode 3, Auto-Generate Winning Proposals.
It is good to be back. And today we are getting into what is basically the engine room of any agency or freelance business.
We really are, and I have to admit, looking at the source material for this deep dive, it makes me a little bit nervous.
Nervous? Why nervous?
Well, because we're not just talking about automating, a simple invoice or scheduling a few tweets.
Right.
We are talking about automating the one thing that most freelancers, most consultants, agency owners, the thing they consider their art.
The pitch.
The pitch, the persuasion, that exact moment where you have to convince another human being to trust you and give you their money.
Yeah, it feels a little, I don't know, invasive, like you're taking the human out of human connection.
Exactly. It feels like we're crossing some kind of line. But
Yeah.
then I look at the reality of the freelance grind. I mean, you know the drill.
Oh, I know the drill.
You're on Upwork, maybe you're digging through LinkedIn leads, whatever. You spot a job, and it's perfect. It is exactly what you do. It even pays well.
And you get that little hit of dopamine.
Yes. But then, almost immediately, the dread sets in.
Because now you have to actually sit down and write the proposal.
Ugh, yes. You have to read the job description 3, maybe 4 times. You got to go research the company. You have to stare at that blinking cursor for 10 minutes, just trying to think of a clever opening line.
A hook.
The hook. And then you have to customize your template so you don't sound like a complete robot. And by the time you finally hit send, and that's if you haven't gotten distracted or just discouraged, it's been what, 20, 30 minutes?
And the worst part of that whole process,
What's that?
while you are agonizing over that perfect opening sentence, 5 other people have already applied.
Right. The client is already in conversations with them. It's a race. And the manual process, it feels like you're running in quicksand.
But today, we're breaking down a system from the Nixariov course that claims to completely change the physics of this race.
And we're not just talking about a faster way to type, are we?
No, not at all. We are talking about a system that does the hunting and the writing completely automatically.
The proposal generator.
The proposal generator.
Yeah.
And the promise here is, I mean, it's aggressive. The source material claims we can go from a process that takes 20 minutes per lead minimum to one that takes 15 seconds.
Or, and this is the crazy part, one that runs entirely in the background while you sleep.
See, that's the part that feels like sci-fi.
Right.
But it's not just a chatbot writing some generic paragraph, right?
Not at all. It's a fully autonomous loop. I mean, think about the steps. It scrapes the job. It analyzes the client's specific pain points. It writes a custom proposal. It actually creates a document, and then it even drafts the email to send it.
Okay, so before we get into the shiny tools, and I know we have a lot to cover, from scrapers to something called MCPs, we have to start with the philosophy.
Because the source material makes this really heavy distinction right at the beginning. The difference between probabilistic and deterministic work.
This is the absolute foundation. I mean, if you don't get this distinction, you cannot build an agent that actually works in a business context. You'll just end up building a toy.
So let's unpack that, because I think most people, when they use AI, they're using it probabilistically by default.
They are. They treat the AI like, a magic 8-ball. You shake it, or in this case, you type in a prompt, and you just hope you get a good answer back. You say something like, write me a proposal for a graphic design gig.
And the AI, because it's a large language model, it's
Yeah.
essentially just guessing.
It's predicting. It looks at all of its training data and it says, okay, statistically, a proposal kind of looks like this. And look, sometimes the result is brilliant,
Oh, yeah, it can be amazing.
but other times it hallucinates a price you never agreed to,
Right.
or it promises a deliverable you literally can't provide, or it just adopts this bizarre tone that makes you sound like a Victorian chimney sweep.
Which, in a business context, is fatal. The source material had that terrifying stat. If your AI is 95% perfect, but 5% of the time it sends a hallucinated invoice.
You have a 95% business failure rate. It's that simple. Because you lose the client. You shatter their trust. In the world of business operations, invoices, proposals, contracts, randomness is your mortal enemy.
So this is where the DO framework comes in. DO, directive, orchestration, execution.
Right. And this is the architecture, the structure that lets us take that probabilistic engine, the sort of galaxy brain of the AI, and force it, constrain it to behave in a deterministic way.
So we're basically putting a straitjacket on the AI.
Though it's a colorful way to put it, but yeah, pretty much. It's about moving from chef, make me dinner, to chef, here's the exact recipe for paella. It's on page 40, and under no circumstances do you add shellfish.
Okay, I like that chef analogy. Let's stick with that because it really clears things up.
Yeah.
In this workflow, who is the chef and what is the recipe?
Okay, so the AI, the LLM, whether it's GPT-4 or Claude or whatever,
Yeah.
that's the chef. It has the raw skill. It knows how to chop. It knows how to saute.
Meaning it knows grammar, it knows persuasion.
Exactly. It knows how to construct sentences. It probably knows more about the English language than we do, honestly.
Sure, no.
But the directive, that is the recipe. And in this workflow, the directive isn't just a suggestion. It's a rigid, unchangeable set of constraints. It tells the chef exactly what ingredients to use, in what order, and exactly how to plate the final dish.
And this brings us right to the first big technical piece of this puzzle. The directive isn't just some vague idea in your head. In the source code from the course, it's an actual physical file.
A markdown file specifically.
Right, usually named something like createproposal.md. And I have to ask, why Markdown? Why not a Word doc or just a big paragraph of text in the system prompt? What's so special about Markdown?
This is a nuance that a lot of people miss, and it's
Yeah.
so critical for anyone trying to build these things. LLMs, Claude, GPT-4, they are trained so heavily on code and documentation.
Okay.
They're trained on all of GitHub, on Stack Overflow, on millions of pages of technical documentation.
So they're basically massive nerds.
They are the biggest nerds in the universe.
Mm.
And the native language of all that technical documentation is Markdown. When you use a hash symbol, #, for a header, or dash for a bullet point, or you use backticks for a code block, the AI understands the hierarchy of the information intuitively.
It's not just seeing words, it's seeing the structure.
Exactly. It understands that section A is the parent that creates the context for subsection B. So by using Markdown for your directive, you are speaking the AI's native structural language. You're reducing ambiguity. And in the DO framework, ambiguity is the enemy.
Okay, so let's peek inside this createproposal.md file. It's the SOP, the standard operating procedure for our little digital employee. What does it actually tell the AI to do?
Well, it definitely doesn't just say, write a proposal. That's the probabilistic way.
Right.
Instead, it breaks the task down into two phases, extraction and then synthesis. The directive tells the AI, do not just summarize this text. I want you to scan this input, whether it's a job description or a sales transcript, and I want you to extract these three specific variables.
And what are those variables?
First, problem areas. What is literally keeping the client up at night? Second, solution areas. How do we specifically fix those problems? And third, pricing.
So it's structuring the AI's brain before it even writes a single word of the proposal. It forces it to think in categories.
Precisely. And it also defines the necessary inputs. The directive might say something like, to run this workflow, I absolutely must have the client's name, the specific pain points mentioned, like the phrase feast or famine revenue cycles, and the proposed solution. If those inputs aren't provided, the system just stops.
It doesn't guess.
It doesn't guess. It creates an error or it asks for clarification. That's the deterministic part. It's rules-based.
And what about formatting? I mean, a proposal can't just be a wall of text.
And that's huge here, too. The directive ensures the output isn't a wall of text. It specifies headers, it specifies bullet points, it dictates a professional tone, it makes sure that every single proposal looks like it came from your agency with your branding and your voice, every single time.
So we have our recipe, the directive. Now we actually have to cook. This brings us to section 3, the execution flow and personalization. This is where the magic really happens, isn't it?
This is where the orchestrator, that's the AI model itself, takes over and starts doing the work.
Okay, so walk me through the trigger. How does this whole process get started?
It starts with an input. In the course, they show two main triggers. The first one is a scraped job description from a site like Upwork.
Okay.
The other, which is really powerful, is a raw transcript from a sales call. Maybe recorded on a tool like Fireflies or Otter.ai.
All right, so let's use that example. I just got off a Zoom call with a potential client. I have the transcript file. I drop it into the system. What happens next?
The orchestrator immediately reads your createproposal.md directive. It sees that its mission is to create a proposal, so it creates a plan. And then it starts mining that transcript for gold.
And this is where we have to fight what I call template fatigue.
Template fatigue. I like that.
Yeah, you know that feeling you get when a LinkedIn message starts with, Dear Sir Madam, I love the synergy of your profile. You just delete it instantly.
Oh, absolutely. We've all trained our brains to filter out that kind of generic outreach. The source material argues that if you just use AI to blast out more generic templates, you're actually hurting your brand faster. You're just automating your own relevance.
So how does this workflow do it differently? Because it is still automation, isn't it inherently a bit generic?
No. And this is the magic trick. It uses what the source calls contextual personalization.
Okay, walk me through the mechanics of that. What does that mean?
All right. Imagine a job posting on Upwork. It's one of those long, rambling paragraphs. The client is basically just venting. They say something like, "We have inconsistent lead flow, our sales team is always chasing cold leads, and frankly, I'm just so tired of the feast or famine cycle."
Okay, a human reads that and we feel empathy. We know that pain point.
Right, a generic bot reads that and just spits out, "I can help with lead generation."
So boring. Delete.
But this agent, because the directive told it to extract specific pain point variables, it scans that text and it physically pulls out the exact phrase, feast or famine cycle.
So it's quoting the client back to themselves.
It's mirroring them. When it constructs the proposal, it doesn't just list your services. It might open the problem section with, "In your description, you mentioned that the feast or famine cycle is making it impossible to plan. We solved exactly that."
That is some next level psychological jujitsu.
It really is. It proves you listened. Or, well, it proves something listened anyway.
It validates their pain. It builds the entire argument for your solution based on the actual problems that it found in the text input.
And it does all of that while you're off making a sandwich.
That's the secret sauce. Okay, so the AI has written the content, but a proposal isn't just text in a chat window. It has to become a document. It has to be sent. This brings us to the build section 4.
Exactly. This is where we get into the execution layer of the DO framework. We're talking about the actual tools.
The source talks about the Upwork scrape apply system. This part really fascinated me, but I want to be careful here because the word scraping can sound a bit gray area.
It can be, for sure.
Yeah.
But here, we're really just talking about using publicly available data. The system uses a scraper, which is essentially a script that visits the web page for you to search for specific keywords like AI automation or podcast editing.
But it's not just applying to every single job it finds, right? That would just be spam.
No, and that would be a huge waste of money on API credits and on Upwork, those connects you have to use. The system applies a filter. The source specifies an 80% match rule.
How does a script even know if a job is an 80% match?
It compares the keywords in the job description against your ideal client profile, which is another thing you've defined in your directive. So if the job mentions budget, $5, and your profile clearly states minimum project size, $500, the match score plummets.
I see.
If the match is below that 80% threshold, the system just aborts. It doesn't even bother trying to generate a proposal.
So it filters out all the noise for you. That alone must save hours of just reading through junk leads.
Hours and hours. But if it is a match, then all the gears start turning. The source describes the system pushing the relevant data, the job title, the client name, the URL, to a Google Sheet.
Why a Google Sheet? What's the point of that step?
It's your dashboard. It acts as a lightweight database. It logs every job it considers, the client name, the link, and the status, like proposal generated or rejected.
Yeah.
It creates a permanent record of your sales pipeline.
Okay, that makes sense. But then it has to actually create the document. The course showed it interacting with Google Docs or PandaDoc. How does an AI interact with Google Docs? It can't click buttons.
It uses the API, an application programming interface. It's like a special doorway for programs to talk to each other. The agent sends the text it just wrote, the problem, the solution, the pricing, to the Google Docs API.
And Google Docs just builds the file.
Instantly.
Yeah.
It generates a new document, it can format with your company letterhead, and then it returns a shareable link, all in about 2 seconds.
And the speed. We have to talk about the speed advantage here.
This is the entire competitive advantage. It's everything.
The source material called it the arbitrage window.
The arbitrage window, yes. It's this core economic concept that the market pays for a disparity in knowledge, or in this case, speed. And right now, there's a massive disparity.
So contrast the human versus the agent here.
Okay. A human sees a job post. They read it, they digest it, they might go grab a coffee, they come back, they draft a response, they proofread it. That's 20 minutes, absolute minimum.
And the agent.
15 seconds, from scrape to document link.
That's just insane.
Think about the impact. Being the first to submit a high-quality, and I have to stress, high-quality personalized proposal drastically increases your win rate. If a client posts a job and your proposal, addressing their specific feast or famine problem, is sitting at the top of their inbox 30 seconds later.
You look like a wizard.
You look like the most on-the-ball, responsive professional they have ever encountered.
And you've captured their attention and their value before your competitors have even opened the notification email.
That is the arbitrage window.
But the workflow doesn't start there. So we've written the proposal, we made the PDF, we still have to email it. Or what about after we land the client, we have to send all the onboarding stuff?
This leads us to Section 5, the follow-up system. And this is where we introduce a really cool piece of tech called MCP.
MCP. The source called it the USB port for AI. I like that.
It's a great analogy. It stands for Model Context Protocol.
Yeah.
This is a really important concept for anyone who's seriously following the agentic AI space.
Okay, break it down for us. What is it?
So before MCP, if you wanted an AI to talk to your Gmail account, you had to write a custom Python script. You had to deal with authentication, OAuth tokens, API keys, error handling. It was a huge headache. It was fragile, and it would break all the time.
It was pure developer work, not for the average user.
Exactly. MCP changes that. It's a standard. It's just like a USB plug. If Gmail offers an MCP server, and your AI agent is built to speak MCP, you just plug them together. You can just tell the agent, use the Gmail tool to draft a message. The agent automatically understands the tool's capabilities.
So it knows it can't send if you only gave it permission to draft.
Precisely. It knows the difference. So in this workflow, the agent uses the Gmail MCP to actually log into your Gmail account on your behalf.
So the process doesn't just stop at making the PDF.
No, the agent then drafts a polite email. Hi name. Following up on your job post, Here is a detailed proposal. It attaches the generated proposal link, and it leaves that email sitting in your drafts folder.
It doesn't auto-send.
It can. The capability is there.
Nah.
The source specifically mentions automating the welcome kickoff email. So you sign a client, you change their status in your CRM from lead to customer, and boom, the agent sends the welcome aboard, here's our scheduling link, here's what to expect email.
I love that for onboarding. It guarantees consistency. You never forget to onboard a client properly just because you got busy.
Right. The agent handles the routine, which frees you up to handle the strategy.
But I want to pause here for a second, because everything we've described, it sounds, frankly, a little bit dangerous.
Dangerous in what way?
Well, we're talking about hooking a robot up to our business's reputation. We're letting it read job posts and send emails that represent us. What happens when it goes wrong? When it breaks?
Ah, yes. The uncanny valley of automation.
Right. The source mentions this explicitly. The big risk isn't that the AI won't work at all. The risk is that it will work. Mostly.
And that mostly is where you get fired. If the tone is just slightly off, if it comes across as arrogant instead of confident, you lose the deal. If it hallucinates a financial figure, adds an extra zero to an invoice, that's an absolute disaster.
Like we said at the start, a 5% error rate can have a 95% negative business impact.
So we can't let it run 100% autonomously. Not for what the source calls high-magnitude, high-sensitivity tasks. Sending a casual tweet? Maybe. Sending a $10,000 proposal? Absolutely not.
So what's the strategy to manage that risk?
Human in the loop. It's as simple as that. The workflow is designed to pause at critical moments. It generates the draft proposal, it creates the draft email, and then it stops and it waits for you.
It waits for the director.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You, the user, act as the director or the reviewer. You look at the final output, you give a simple command in plain English, looks good, send it. Or, you know what, tweak the tone, it's a little too formal.
But the source material actually mentioned a more advanced concept here that I found completely fascinating. The reviewer sub-agent.
Oh, this is maybe the smartest part of the entire build. It's brilliant.
A sub-agent, so like an agent that manages the other agent.
You can think of it like good cop, bad cop. The writer agent is the salesperson. It's enthusiastic. It wants to get that proposal out the door. But before that draft ever gets to the human, it passes through the reviewer agent.
And what are the instructions for the reviewer agent?
Its instructions are basically, you are a harsh, unforgiving critic. Literally. The directive for the reviewer is to tear the draft apart. It checks it against the rubric you've defined. Did we mention the pricing correctly? Is the tone professional but not stiff? Did we actually address the client's core pain point?
So the AI is essentially arguing with itself in the background before I ever see anything?
Yes. The reviewer agent might send feedback to the writer agent saying, this is too generic. Rewrite the opening paragraph to specifically mention the software stack the client uses. The writer agent then rewrites it and resubmits it.
And only then does it come to me for final approval.
Exactly. So by the time it reaches the human in the loop stage, it's already been through an internal quality control pass. It's 99% of the way there. You're just doing that final sanity check.
That is wild. It's like you're building a tiny digital agency right inside your computer. You have a writer, you have an editor, and you're the CEO.
It is. And it's what solves the consistency problem at scale.
Okay, so we've got the structure, the tools, the quality control. But let's talk about the content itself for a minute. When do you use a template and when do you need to go fully custom? Section 7 in the source dives into this balance.
This is a really crucial distinction in the DO framework. The mantra is standard structure, but custom ingredients.
Explain what you mean by that.
The onboarding email we talked about earlier, that should absolutely be a rigid template. You want every single new client to get the exact same information about how to pay you and how to schedule their kickoff call. Consistency there is key. You don't want the AI getting creative with your bank details.
Right. Yeah, that would be very bad.
Very bad. But the proposal, that requires heavy customization because persuasion is the key. You can't template empathy or understanding.
So the DO framework uses the directive, the recipe, as that standard structure. But it fills that structure with custom ingredients, which is the specific client data.
That's it, exactly.
Let's walk through a real-world example from the source material to make this all concrete. The $300 gig. This story really anchored the whole concept for me.
Yeah, this was the Bright Path Learning or Demo Core example from the course, a great little case study.
So set the scene for us. What was the job?
The client posted a job on Upwork, and the title was something like, they needed an AI-powered student success predictor.
Student success predictor. I mean, that sounds very fancy. It sounds like you need a PhD in data science to even apply.
It does, and I guarantee you a lot of freelancers probably looked at that title and thought, nope, I don't know how to build a predictive neural net, and just scrolled right past it.
But the agent didn't just scroll past.
No. The agent ingested the full job description, and because its directive told it to hunt for problem areas, it found the real story buried deep in the text.
And what was the real story?
The client admitted, way down in the description, our team is currently spending 20 hours a week on manual data entry to track student grades.
20 hours a week? That's a half-time employee just doing copy-paste.
That's the pain. That is the bleeding neck. A bad proposal talks about AI predictors and neural architecture. A winning proposal talks about, I'm going to save you 20 hours of tedious work every single week, starting tomorrow.
So the agent caught that key phrase.
The agent caught it.
Yeah.
But, and I love this part of the story from the source, the first draft it generated wasn't perfect.
Oh, it wasn't.
No. The host in the course material reviewed the first draft that the agent produced. And it was. It was okay. It was accurate, but it was a bit short. A little robotic.
So this is that human-in-the-loop moment in action. What did they do? Did they have to go in and rewrite the whole thing?
No, they didn't rewrite it themselves. That breaks the leverage you get from the system. Instead, they acted as the director. They just gave a simple command back to the agent, something like, lengthen the paragraphs. Make the solution section significantly more detailed and realistic. Explain how we will save the 20 hours.
And the result of that command?
The agent rewrote the entire thing instantly. It produced this highly detailed professional document that looked like it must have taken hours to write. It fleshed out the benefit section. It made the solution sound much more robust and tangible.
And crucially, it anchored the price.
Yeah.
Right?
The gig was only for $300.
Which is incredibly low for AI development.
It is. But for automating a spreadsheet and saving you 20 hours a week, it's actually a fair price.
Yeah.
And the new proposal made that value proposition crystal clear. It basically said, for $300, I will give you back 80 hours of paid labor every single month.
When you frame it like that, the ROI is practically infinite. It makes the $300 look like a rounding error.
Exactly. And that proposal, because it was fast, because it was professional, and because it explicitly solved the 20 hours of data entry problem, it has a massive chance of winning that gig.
And the freelancer didn't spend an hour sweating over the text. They spent 10 seconds giving a direction, and the agent did all the heavy lifting.
It really just changes the entire game. It almost feels like, well, is it cheating?
It feels a little like cheating, but I guess it's not. It's just having better tools.
It's leverage. That's the word. It's pure leverage.
So wrapping this all up, what does this mean for the listener? We've covered a lot of technical ground here. Markdown, MCPs, scrapers, sub-agents.
I think it means we have to rethink the river of value.
The river of value. I really liked that image from the source.
The economy is this giant river of value. Capital, money, it flows to whoever provides the most value most efficiently. For centuries, that was human labor, then it was machines, and now it's intelligence.
And if you are using these kinds of agentic workflows.
You are positioning yourself to capture a much larger stream of that river. You're faster, you're more consistent than your competitors, you aren't getting bogged down in the administrative swamp of just writing proposals. You're spending your valuable human time on the high-level strategy.
You aren't just doing the work anymore.
No. And here's the final provocative thought to leave everyone with. A lot of people are afraid of AI replacing jobs. We hear it all the time. The robots are coming for the copywriters.
It's a valid fear for sure.
It is. But the source material frames it in a different way. If you can automate 90% of a role, like the prospecting, the drafting, the emailing for a salesperson, you aren't necessarily replacing that person. You are enabling one person to do the work of 10.
That is a fundamental shift.
The economy is shifting from doing the work to orchestrating the agents. The winners in the next decade won't be the ones who can type the fastest proposal. The winners will be the ones who build the best proposal generators.
Orchestrating the agents. That really is the future, isn't it?
It is. It's not about being the chef anymore. It's about being the person who writes the recipe.
Well, listener, if that doesn't get you excited to open up a code editor or even just a simple markdown file, I don't know what will.
It's time to start building.
Find the work, write the proposal in seconds. Episode 4, the email automation that ties it together.